Hello everyone, I'm Brian. Today I'm reacting to Lessons from Chess Part 1 and Part 2 by Gaur Gopal Das. So I like chess. Interesting. Lesson from chess. So I like chess. Lesson from chess from a guru? Well, I'm not sure if it's a guru or not, but let's find out. I'm curious. How do we get a lesson from chess?
When Mr. Clark, a Scottish farmer, heard that the luxury cruise liner Titanic was to make its very first voyage, its maiden voyage, from the United Kingdom to the United States of America, he had a dream to be on the ship with his wife and his 5 children. He practically spent most of his life's savings to buy tickets for his entire family. Non-refundable tickets.
Weird.
Guess what? Just a week before the Titanic made its way to America, one of Mr. Clark's son was bitten by a dog. The doctor recommended that the boy be quarantined for his own safety and for the safety of others around him. Mrs. Clark suggested that he and the other children actually make their way on the trip. But Mr. Clark's conscience did not allow him to leave his wife and his ill son behind. Wednesday, the 10th of April, 1912, as the Titanic sailed forth from the Southampton port in Hampshire, England, Mr. Clark stood there, crying tears of disappointment and frustration. All his money was gone, and none of them could make their way on the trip. Just 5 days later, on Monday, the 15th of April, when Mr. Clark heard news that the Titanic had sunk, having collided with an iceberg, he started looking for the dog. कुत्ता किधर है? कुत्ते को माला पहनाना पड़ेगा, कि पूजा करनी पड़ेगी, प्रणाम करना पड़ेगा. अगर बेटे को कुत्ता नहीं काटता तो हम सब कट जाते. Ladies and gentlemen, isn't it amazing how many plans we make? And isn't it a reality? Not everything goes according to our plans. Even in the game of chess.
Before we get to that part, let's comment on the Titanic issue. I don't know much about the Titanic other than it did hit an iceberg on its voyage, but I didn't know if it was its maiden voyage, and I thought it was from the United States out. But again, I don't know. I just know it hit. It's the biggest ship at the time, and it sank because of an iceberg. About the dog, jokingly, I was thinking like, "Well, dog, why didn't you beat my son before I used my life savings? You know, could have saved me $5." I mean, $5 was probably a lot back in the day. So, but yeah, I mean, yeah, hindsight's 2020. That's a very famous saying that I really like. So, you know, he was crying in tears that he didn't get a chance to go. It's something that he's dreamt of, I'm sure, that he wanted his family to enjoy, and none of them could enjoy it. It cost him his life savings. But looking at it after the fact that the Titanic sank and you know a lot of people died, that it was a blessing in disguise. But it didn't have to cost him life savings. Nah, but it's it is what it is. Let's see what he has to say now.
We may come completely prepared with our strategy to win the game. We may even make our moves thinking that everything will go according to what we had decided and planned. The reality, however, is once we have made our move, we have no control over the moves that the opponent will make. We have no idea that the opponent has also made his or her plan. Whether it's the game of chess or the game of life, not everything goes according to what we had envisioned in our lives. This is exactly why there's a great need to go with the flow, to not be rigid about what we had decided, to learn to change our strategy as per the need of the moment. Ladies and gentlemen, adjust your plans, adapt to the challenges that life throws at you, adopt new strategies to match those of your opponent. Life, apply the greatest virtue of flexibility. Don't be rigid. Let's learn a very important lesson from the river Ganga as she emanates from the Himalayan mountains with her plan to move and reach her destination. She is not rigid. She is extremely flexible. As sometimes mountains throw challenges in the form of rocks on her path, she does not stop. She will either go above them or under them, around them, but she keeps moving until she reaches her destination. Whatever challenge comes on your pathway, just keep moving. Thank you.
I was hoping there's a little bit more of the chess part, you know. So that last part, I want to add my my little. Again, I try to attack it from all points of views, and my other point of view for this is you can be rigid, but only when you know you can be. So basically, just because there's a hindrance there doesn't mean you change your plans immediately. Of course, be rigid, stick with the plan as much as you can, and when you cannot, then be flexible. I don't disagree with them. Absolutely, being flexible is a mandatory. Being able to adjust your plan accordingly when things go to crap is mandatory or necessary. There are people out there who live by, you know, making plans throughout their entire day. If anything changes, they get so frustrated, and it's kind of crazy. Then there are people out there who just live strictly by the flow of what's going on around them. I'm neither one of those. I am in the middle, where I have a plan, and I stick with the plan as much as I can. And should something come up that needs me to make a change in my plan, I can try to adjust for it. Sometimes those wants try to adjust my plans, but I don't. Like if I need to get to, like if I'm trying to save up for something, and instead of buying things, those are wants that are getting out of my plan. So I don't buy those, and I continue to save. Again, that's savings plan. Like if you want to buy something big, of course. And again, you know, like a brand new cell phone comes, like, oh, I want to buy that, but I need to keep saving. Again, something that comes up, you don't necessarily need to change. Like, oh, I need to change here and get that, and then I can come back on my plan. It's only change when you need to, only change when you know you can, or when you know you can't, and of course, change if you want. It's really just like a shotgun blast saying, change if you want and don't change if you don't want. But just understand where you can and cannot and adjust accordingly. I'm going to have to pause right here and let me get part 2 started. I guess to summarize that last part, it's just stick with the plan, but be flexible. Know when to diverge from the plan, but try to stick with your plan, especially if you thought it out. If you thought it out really well, try to stick to it as much as possible, but be flexible and be able to adjust accordingly should something come up. Now let's go ahead and start part 2.
Many times I say, some people are so poor, so absolutely poor, that all they have is money. If you want to truly know how rich and wealthy you are, then drop a tear and see how many hands actually come forth to wipe that tear. Ladies and gentlemen, our true wealth, our true richness is people, our connections with people, our interpersonal relationships with people. Isn't it often said that our net worth is equal to our net work? And when it comes to networking and our connecting to people, very often we just have the tendency to connect to and network with those apparently big guys, the more important ones, or as they call them, the big guns? And isn't it true that we do not want to rub shoulders with the apparently less important or the smaller guys? Even in the game of chess, if we simply network with the king or the queen or the bishop or the knight or the rook, and we do not pay attention to connecting and networking with these little pawns, who's going to play the role of the pawns? Even those little guys in the front are important. They play their respective roles to bring the ultimate victory to one who plays chess. And thus, whether it's the game of chess or it's the game of life, if we want victory and success, we have to connect with people at all levels, from big to small, from president to resident. We have to network, connect, and have interpersonal relationships with everybody. A group.
Okay, before we get to this next part, I'd like to make an additional comment to his comment about chess, because I don't know if he's going to come back to it or not. But also, the reason why you want to make friends with pawns is because someday those pawns can become queens, bishop, rooks, or knights. They have the ability to grow, and when you become friends with them, they can become powerful, great allies to you. I think his comment there was to be friends with everyone in every level: king, queen, bishop, knight, rook, and pawn. But I also like to add the fact that pawns can become queen, bishop, knight, and rook. I guess maybe in this case you are the king, so that's the reason why pawns can't be kings, because you are the king in the chess game, and the people around you is how you value everyone. It's not that you value them differently, because all of them play an important role in your life. It's just that I understand that every pawn that you think so little of can become a queen, or bishop, knight, or rook.
Of 70 scientists were working on a project as a deadline. These 70 scientists were so absolutely under pressure because of their hectic work and the deadlines. They were really finding it hard, but they were so loyal to their boss, they just kept going. One morning, one of the scientists came to the boss and said, "There's an exhibition in town, and I promised my children to take them for the exhibition. Is it okay if I leave at 5:30? The boss said, "We're really working on a deadline, but since you've promised your kids, you can actually leave at 5:30. The scientist was happy. He continued to work in his office, and when he looked at his watch, he had been so involved and absorbed in his work, he saw it was already 8:30 p.m. Oh, he felt so guilty that he had promised his kids that he would take them for the exhibition, and he hadn't gone home at 5:30. He came to his boss's cabin and saw the boss was not there as well. The scientist packed his bag and came home. His wife was sitting in the living room reading magazines. He knew that the situation was extremely explosive. Anything he would ask or say would just boomerang back. His wife looked at him and said, "Would you like to take a cup of coffee, or would you like to go for dinner straight?" He said, "Well, if you prefer coffee, I don't mind taking a cup of coffee. But where are the kids?" The lady said, "At about 5:15, your boss came home and took the children for the exhibition. What had happened is at 5 o'clock, the boss had come and seen that the scientist was so absorbed and engrossed in his work and had completely lost track of time. The boss knew that he wasn't going to leave office at 5:30. The boss personally went to the scientist's home and took the scientist's kids for the exhibition. Now, the boss didn't have to do this again and again. Even that one time he did it and made that investment, the kind of commitment that came from all the scientists that worked under him was incredibly amazing. This is why all these 70 scientists worked with such commitment at Tumba under their able, capable and super sensitive boss. Guess who the boss was? Late Dr. APJ Abdul Kalam, the former president of India, the mastermind behind the space research and the missiles project of India. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, greatness is not just about rubbing shoulders with the big guys. The true symptom of greatness is how we treat the apparently small and the least amongst mankind whom we work with. Therefore, if we truly want to achieve success, we must connect to the big and the small at all levels. We must treat them all with respect, dignity, and sensitivity. Thank you.
So I don't disagree with him at the end there. You definitely, I always say you should treat people that you don't know with a certain level of respect and kindness. Not absolute respect, not absolute kindness because you don't know them. They could be bad people. But a certain level of respect and kindness. I will say, in terms of the story though, is that really true? And I'll give two parts to that. My personal feelings towards that, and what I think most Westerners may believe in that. So here's the kind of the mix between the two. My personal, and I think what Westerners would say on that is probably, it's very weird to go to for your boss to go to your family's house to take your kids to the exhibition. I think it's probably best if you tell the scientist, hey, it's 5:30, just want to remind you, or say it's 5:15, hey, just want to remind you, you might want to get going for your exhibition before you're late. And I think that would have been the better option. Now, I think that's the Westerners' belief, and also my belief. So my personal belief here too is the fact that the only reason why I say that I think the boss should have told the scientist, it's like, hey, it's 5:15, you might want to get going. And I would have appreciated that. He let me out early, and now he's reminding me. I would have appreciated it very much. Like, just showing a little bit of kindness means a lot to a worker. And also, if that was me, maybe there was this. I mean, generally, when you take your kids out, your family out somewhere, it's because you want to bond with them. You want to develop memories with them. And maybe there was something special going on. This is an exhibition that you wanted to share with your children while you're there. Well, now your boss did all of that, where now your kids are saying, "Oh, we want your boss to come back and show us around because you're never here." It's like, oh my gosh, how much would that hurt? It's like, well, I didn't go because I forgot, and it could be taken both ways. So I don't know. I'm guessing that story ended up very good, where the worker was grateful for the boss to do that. But for me personally, I would rather my boss, stay away from my personal life. Although unless your boss is your friend, that's a different story. Your relationship always factors in there. But it's just that it's kind of weird. If I take my kids out, I definitely want that bonding moment. That's the reason why I'm going to take them out in the first place, is to take pictures and show them different things and teach them different things. Is that because most of the time you're at work, and the few moments that you get to bond with your kids is precious. So, and in some sense, you could see that as your boss taking that away from you. But again, I don't know about that story though, and how that turned out. But that's just my personal opinion on that one, and probably most Westerners, it'd be seen as kind of strange, unless again your boss is your best friend and you're okay with your best friend doing that, or your friend doing that. So anyways, that's Lessons from Chess Part 1 and Part 2 from Gaur Gopal Das. I think the next episode is going to be the last 3, because the 5th one I think is like just a minute long. So anyways, that's my reaction to this. If you like my content, please consider subscribing. Thumbs up, thumbs down below. Thanks for watching. I'll see you in the next vid.